We're going live, and we are live. Did you want to do introductions, or did you want me?
I don't know. You know what? This is originally being hosted on your channel, so let's. No, that doesn't make sense either, because discerning who the guest and who the host is also doesn't say who should do introductions. So I have no clue.
Okay. Well, I'll just run with it.
Okay.
So Logic Tree, right? As the name is interviewing myself or Jedi Living or Opie McLeod or however you want to run it on Jedi Living, on living as a Jedi in everyday life. So should be fun stuff. I'll let you take it away. This is your show now, man. Run with it.
All right. How I want to kind of set this up, I give you sort of a question that only someone who is involved in the Jedi community in the way that you are would know about it. And I just sort of set you up and let you ramble, if that's okay.
Sure. Rambling's what I do.
Okay. Well, because we're going to be uploading a copy of this onto my channel, for my audience, most of which are atheists, explain to them a newer person what they would little bit need to know about Jediism.
Jediism or Jedi philosophy, however you want to classify it, is basically it's taking the ideology and the philosophy of the Jedi from Star Wars and then making that practical and applicable in everyday life. And since Star Wars was and Jedi were inspired by a lot of real world belief systems, there's a lot of grounded things that people can certainly recognize, such as just the virtue of patience, practices of meditation, the benefit of physical wellness. But basically, which if you wanted like a tagline, I guess, you would say that Jedi philosophy is world betterment through self-betterment wrapped up in Star Wars terminology, is basically what it boils down to.
Okay, yeah. That works out. Okay, so my first question is, because I am kind of familiar with some of the things involved in Jediism, Jedi philosophy, perhaps. There has long been a debate amongst Jedi, right, that whether or not Jediism is a philosophy or a religion. Has that debate changed? Or is it swinging more towards a philosophy, swinging more towards a religion? Is it divided into separate groups? What's going on there?
Yeah, it's a debate that's certainly been going on at least heavily since 2001. But these days, there's more of an acceptance of individual viewpoint. Being a Jedi and then how that relates in your life is kind of left to the individual Jedi to discern for themselves. So there really isn't a organizational standpoint on whether it's a religion, a philosophy, if you want to start breaking it down as a lifestyle or any other label or try to categorize it. It really is left to the individual to how they feel it relates in their lives. So you will have Jedi who say Jedi is my religion, and definitely hold a religious view of it. And then you'll get Jedi who are like, not my religion, I'm actually a Christian, or I'm actually a Buddhist, or I'm actually an atheist. And Jedi is just is how I live. That's just kind of the philosophies and the ideology that I live my life by. So I think, and that the debate, anytime the question comes up in the community, the debate always falls to that. You will have people arguing at first, but then there's this realization that, look, this isn't an organizational issue. There's not one site or one group or as a totality of the path that's going to agree. It's just too open, which is a good thing. And it does fall to the individuals to kind of classify it as they see fit in their life.
Okay, well, that actually answers two of my questions. Question 10 was going to be how much of a focus on individuality and retaining individual identity there was. That they covered that. sort of a lot of the questions I have right here are more on the future of where you think Jediism is going. And question two is, more and more today we see an influx of Muslims becoming agnostic and in general moving towards a more secular lifestyle. Do you predict a rise in more Jedi coming out of Islam, as it tends to be more acclimated to an egalitarian secular form of honor, sorry, my mouth, as that is something that especially a lot of devout Muslim men, especially a lot of liberal devout Muslim men, find very important in their own lives?
I don't know if I see.
Oh, just a prediction. I don't want to put you into a...
I'm not 100%. It's certainly possible. Yeah, it's definitely possible as the popularity of Star Wars recently has reached out. I think we'll definitely see a rise. I'm not sure on individual religions though, so it's hard for me to predict if that's the case. I definitely think it's in the realm of possibility though.
All right. I apologize if these are hardball questions. I do.
It's fine, man. Your question. Handle it.
Okay. Have there been any new groups of Jediism or Jedi philosophy coming out? And where do you see the most growth currently?
I see a lot of growth in Jedi who have been around for almost, they're maybe coming up on the 10-year mark. It's groups that have been around since about 2005 or maybe 2008, and individuals who have been around since that time. These are the groups that are actually starting to make the strides forward in the community, that are actually starting to put together something that that people not only can use and grow from, but they're actually able to connect with, and is making use of a lot of the new technologies and social media habits that weren't around when I first started. So I think that's where we're seeing a lot of the growth, because it's utilizing just the tools that are out there better, but also has the experience and has seen enough of kind of the ebb and flow of the community to really build something that's lasting and doesn't get stuck in the mire. They're not ignoring history. They're not forgetting kind of how the Jedi have grown and the pitfalls that have come over the years. So those are the places that I see. I think I've seen a lot of growth from to name names, I guess, from Temple of the Jedi Order. They've really grown from where they were to where they are now and where they want to go, most importantly. And they're really making strides. But change is a delicate thing. Not for me. It's why my Jedi Living and stuff has kind of a small following, because I come in with a sledgehammer and I just make change happen. It's swift, it's brutal. Not everybody likes that. Temple of the Jedi Order is doing it the smart way, and they're kind of gradually building things, updating, kind of changing and going in that direction. Chicago Jedi in an offline
that
format.
Just sounds awesome. Chicago Jedi. That just sounds awesome. I picture literally like mobsters in fedoras with lightsabers.
They need to do that now. I think they need to do that now.
The Chicago way of the Force.
That should be their banner cover right there, is them in fedoras and 3-piece suits and lightsabers. I think we just came up with it. Yeah, we came up with their marketing for them. But they're making great strides. They're doing great things. They started out as a very small group that was kind of online, but then started having monthly meetings, and now they're a really big offline group that does a lot of charity events in Chicago, and they've really grown their online presence as well, and helped shape and really played a role in connecting offline Jedi groups from around the world, and kind of making a home at the annual Jedi gatherings, kind of bringing in the offline groups together and making everybody feel a part of the same team. So you don't really trying to kind of break down the walls of the tribes in the community. Like the different websites are kind of like little tribes, and so you can get those tribal wars going on, and that little the pride of being from this site or being from that group over there. And Chicago Jedi, while they definitely honor the individual groups and names, have really sought to bring them together and kind of remind people that Jedi is the focus, and they've done great, have made great strides in that, especially in the offline, kind of how Jedi are seen offline. So that's another one to name. But yeah,
so
those are
one of their. Oh, sorry.
No. I was just rambling. Actually, go ahead.
So you'd say one of their goals would be, if I could use this term, non-denominational Jediism?
Yeah, I think that fits. It is just about living as a Jedi, and then if you are, it's like thumbs up. Welcome to the club. Grab a lightsaber, pull up a chair. Grab a meditation cushion. It's all good. So yeah, I think that fits.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to cover before I did any other of the questions. Jediism was one of the last things I got involved in before I got into atheism, skepticism. And the reason I still find it very attractive, and I come back and I sometimes go over some of the honor codes and stuff, and it just looks really nice. And can I tell you why, as an atheist, it seems attractive to me?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the reason for that is you start off with this anti-dogma statement of, we know it's based on fiction. You start off with that. And then that makes everything else. I was once reading a book about ancient history, and the first words in it's a 2,000-page book. And it says, you don't have to believe it. You just have to know it's important. That is so comforting.
That's a good line too, by the way. That's great. Yeah, and I agree. When you just step away and you can see it. Look, yeah, let's step away from belief for a second and just look at what's tangible. What are we really talking about? How is this going to affect you as a person in your everyday life? How is this going to affect your belief and love and light and fluffiness all aside? How is this going to impact directly your life? So
yeah. I also notice a heavy focus on peace, and I'm sort of in I guess you could say a phase where I'm overtly obsessed with a lot of Sam Harris's stuff. And neuroscientist Sam Harris, he does a podcast called Waking Up with Sam Harris, and he does a lot of stuff with meditation and everything else. But I would say that, and this is me being overtly philosophical, but if I'm going to be that with someone, it's good to have Opie McLeod around. I would say that the ultimate goal for every human to overcome any sense of savagery is to strive towards peace. And that seems like the ultimate devotion to a higher form of thought, I would suppose. I apologize for repetition.
No, never have to apologize with me on the line. Let's clear that up. Yeah. I'll make mistakes enough for both of us, and if we're going to start doing apologies, we'll be here and this will never get done. But yeah, I agree. That peace is very much, it's a big focus because it's so multifaceted, especially within Jedi philosophy. For us, we try to break it down as simply as possible, but no matter, you can condense it into a singular sentence, but it's still multifaceted. It still plays out in so many different angles in a person's life. And it's a goal that we really think and really believe and really feel will make a truly important impact in a person's life. And that radiates outwards, that it makes an impact within the world. So yeah, I mean, peace is, And it's the first thing we start out with, really. When you start, no matter where you start in the Jedi philosophy, or what website you go to, or what book you pick up, even if you just stick with the fiction, peace is going to be like the first thing you come across, and that one's going to stick out, and it's always going to resonate, and it's always going to be brought up throughout training, whether that's from the Jedi Code to Empire Strikes Back to something like the Jedi Circle. It's going to be in there, and it's going to be in your face, and it's a constant reminder for something that Jedi really appreciate and really strive for.
Yeah, you see, and that's why I like it. But it's weird because I guess I would consider myself on and off coming back to it, like I'm on the best way I know to describe it is like I'm an alcoholic who says that he's not going to take a drink, and then I stay away for like 2 days, and then I come back to it. Because really, the Jedi Living website, it's jediliving.com still, yes?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because this is what I sort of come back to is originally when I emailed you before when I was really getting into this stuff. Is what happened was I just printed off a bunch of stuff from the website, and I have this like huge stapled stack of Jedi stuff from the website. That's like, I think it's the philosophy classes of the different lines of the code.
Oh,
there is no, down there. And oh God, it does make me very happy to see any group that can just focus on community building, charity, individual betterment. And I think you do. I think you're doing some great work with things. And another thing, before we even get to more of the questions, and this sucks because I have the list of. Okay, I'm sorry, I keep thinking of more. But the focus on physical fitness, it seems like part of Jediism is, be your own personal trainer.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I will always go back to Empire Strikes Back. Right? I mean that is the film that really inspired me to be a Jedi. I mean, that's where my childhood dream to be a Jedi really came from. And so I'll always reference it. And we see Luke Skywalker running around the swamps like a crazy person, swinging from vines, with Yoda on his back even. We see him doing handstands and flipping around. And we see that there's this connection, that there's this idea being presented to us that if you want to really connect with the world around you, and if you want to connect to the Force, that physical well-being is a part of it. But for Jedi, it's important that you find what you love. It's important you find something that works for you. And so what we encourage is around 30 to 60 minutes of physical activity of something that you enjoy doing. For some people, that is like exercises like P90X or something like that, where they can really just kind of put themselves on a schedule and work out and feel good. And that
I used to do the Insanity workout program by Shaun T.
Shaun T. I know a Jedi who used to do that one as well, and she I think if she ever sees Shaun T, like that guy's gonna need like some bodyguards or something.
Yeah.
But she loved it, she had fun. It's fun to complain about the things, but then you're right back doing it the very next day, right? But yeah, she had fun with that. It really worked for her. For other people, it's things like basketball with a family member out in the driveway for like 30 to 60 minutes. For some people, it's rock climbing, hiking, running, swimming. I mean, the list is truly endless. I'm really lax with. I'm like, I don't care if you play ping pong with someone for 60 minutes. Cool deal. I've worked up a sweat playing ping pong before. Okay, so like, that's definitely on the list. But yeah, it's about one of the core parts about being a Jedi is self-discipline. So it plays into that too, because as you said, you are your own personal trainer. Or as I like to say, you are your own Jedi master. No, you don't get Qui-Gon, you don't get Yoda, you don't get old Ben Kenobi. Sorry. It sucks. I know. I've been looking for them for like 30 years. But yeah, you are your Jedi Master. And certainly there's plenty of materials to help you along the path, but it's up to you to kind of fulfill the ideas and the obligations of the path. And physical fitness is one of them. And it's important to remember that it's about being healthy. What works for you, staying active. It's less about being fit and more about being active. But physical fitness kind of puts people in the right frame of mind of what to look for. But yeah, I don't know. I like it. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, for me, for instance, I did the Insanity workout program so many times. I know what workouts do what within the workout, what effect they have. But at the same time, I want to be able to do a version of the Insanity workout that I won't have to change when I'm in my late 70s. And this is a 20-year-old saying this, but I want something I can literally do until the day I die. And I'm trying my best to write out a workout. I want to include different forms of Kung Fu. I look up on demonstrations on YouTube, perhaps different forms of Aikido. That's always useful. I really want to write a paper on something involving Aikido, just the method of using meditation while using martial arts. Definitely from an atheist perspective, that's amazing. And it really does speak, because this is me fanboying. This is it's not good. Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. How often are Jedi meetups just in general, as larger groups? And this is their specific. Is there a specific ritual or activity involved, like a group circle or council type deal?
The frequency of meetups really depends on region. We do have yearly. We have a pretty standing tradition. I can't remember exactly. I believe it's going on its 15th year, 14th year of an annual Jedi gathering that takes place in the United States. But when you break down into regions, or you get into international, such as Australia, has a few groups. Of course, the United Kingdom has a few groups. The Czech Republic has a few groups. As you break it down, and of course, the United States being as big as it is, Chicago Jedi being one, Heartland Jedi, California Jedi, and many others. The schedule varies. Chicago, I'm pretty sure, is on a monthly or 2-week schedule. California Jedi, because it's all of California, and that's a pretty big place, we're closer to a couple months, depending on where you are. Northern California Jedi actually meet up more. So, but there's not a set schedule there. So it really, like, look on meetups or Facebook groups that are about meeting Jedi kind of around, and then you can kind of get into schedules. But it's really difficult to say without talking about a specific group.
That's all right. We're just looking for a general idea.
Okay. Yeah, it does vary. It does vary. But certainly we do make a point of at least one annual meetup a year. As for activities, again, varies, but you do tend to see certain practices kind of almost shared. It's almost guaranteed that they'll happen. It's not promised, but it's a pretty sure bet. You will see meditation, a group meditation. Someone will share something, or someone will want to do a guided meditation, and everybody in the group, of course, is willing to learn a new meditation technique. So you will see that. You'll see lightsaber dueling or games. There's various games you can do, such as Jedi Chest, that Jedi Knight Adam Rugard. Yeah, I think. I'm horrible with pronouncing screen names of Jedi. So, but he developed a game of Jedi Chess, which is pretty fun. That you use lightsabers with, or you'll see some people such as Ross Greenberg, who's in Chicago Jedi. He's a martial arts instructor, and has a school and such. He'll teach little self-defense classes or little demonstrations or a move or two a lot of the times at the annual gatherings that he attends. So you tend to see those things. You'll definitely, at annual gatherings, there can be a council of sorts, which is just people who've been knighted at the gatherings, and they'll get together and kind of, chit chat with one another, catch each other up on their individual groups and projects. And then if there is another Jedi who's kind of been a part of the annual gatherings and has demonstrated, the skills and qualities of a Jedi Knight, that they may go through our own little versions of the Jedi trial. Nothing quite as dramatic as the fiction, but they can go through that and then go through a knighting ceremony at the annual Jedi gathering. And that's actually been happening pretty regularly for about the past 4 years. It has a pretty regular standing, so it's almost a guarantee. But again, it doesn't always happen.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. We have. Okay, this one's a bit more personal. How did you specifically come into Jediism? Would it be all right to talk about your conversion or your deconversion, whatever you would call it, story?
Sure. I mean, let's see. So it starts out in 1990 when I first saw Empire Strikes Back, and I was a kid, and I was like, cool, I want to be a Jedi. And basically no one told me I couldn't. So it was real in my mind. I mean, outside of playing Jedi in the backyard, of course, and running around the backyard with a pretend Yoda on my back and reciting the lines. Basically, as I grew older, it was something that stuck with me and something that I always kind of looked to. The Jedi Code was always there, so I'd always repeat that in my head. Because when I got into that, I got the Star Wars role-playing book. Didn't have anybody to role-play with, so there was no tabletop gaming going on, so I could never create a Jedi character. But certainly the code was there, and I read it, and I liked it, and I memorized it. And so basically I chased that dream as a kid would, until about 1995, when I was just messing around at CompUSA, and me and a friend were talking about we usually went there to play games on their demo computers.
Yep.
And we were messing around. I got online and I was looking for something to do with lightsabers, like real lightsabers, and basically came across Karis Night Flyers website, which had a Jedi Academy to it, which Luke.
Is that the one with all the audio clips?
No, that's Jedi Lore. Jedi Lore. Yeah, by Jedi with a G. Jedi with a G.
Getty.
Yeah. This one was created around the same time. And it's the one with Yavin 4 picture on it, and it talks to you like Luke Skywalker's kind of talking to you. And though I guess that was common back then, so that doesn't really narrow it down. But yeah, and that was my first one getting into it, where I was like, wait a minute, there's real Jedi out there? Is this real Jedi? What's going on here? And it was hard to tell, because back then in 1995, it was about the role playing. It was fans just kind of expressing it and having fun with it, and sharing their love with it. It wasn't until the re-release of the original trilogy in 1997 that really pulled me in kind of what was now budding into a community. And 1997, that's where I found Jedi Lore, the Jedi Lore website. Of course, it was created a bit before that, but it's where I found it. And there was other websites that were cropping up, such as Jedi the New Millennium came up around that time. And what was called Temple of the Jedi back then came up, but it was on a different server than and it was all different than what it is now. Even the archive version that I have is still from 1999 and completely different than originally what it was. But then it was a community of people who were seeking to actually live it. I mean, in 1995, you could get into things like I got into the Mos Eisley Cantina chat, but that was all role playing. There were a couple people there who thought about it and wanted, wanted to apply it to everyday life, and they ended up going and doing that. It's really neat when you like now that I think about it, because I knew these people back then, but I didn't we didn't really interact. I watched them with awe basically, and they would go on to create things like the Jedi Creed website that got really big and was really a foundational piece of what the Jedi community has become. So it was kind of a gradual thing of just really a childhood dream and kind of going with it, and then seeing other people and getting involved with other people and getting involved with a community that was running with the idea of, no, this is based off of real stuff, so we can make this real. There's no reason why we can't really. And so it was kind of just that thought of why not that propelled the community forward and myself. And basically I just always ran with it because it always it always just spoke to my childhood dream. And two, then you begin to see the effect of living that way, of living the Jedi philosophy. Like, how does that play in your life? What kind of effect does it have? And for me, it was positive. Every time that I was sticking, even as a kid back then, every time that I was sticking to the Jedi ideals and the Jedi philosophy and trying to really embody that, good things were going on. My life was progressing in a positive and beneficial way. It is when I kind of got away from it, or when I forgot about it, or when, you let that impulse of emotion kind of put blinders on and you kind of forget about it, that I found a lot of the challenges and struggles in life. So it really just spoke to me, and it really just proved itself over time. And that, however many years ago that was, and yeah, it's just something I've stuck with, and that's continually over the years, through the various challenges that I've had to face in life, has shown worth and value in living by.
Okay. So, and now I have sort of a lighthearted question that I kind of have to ask someone who has chosen the name that you chose to go by on YouTube. How surprised were you in the second season of Highlander when Richie became an immortal?
Not much. I remember just not much. I just went with it. It was okay. Yeah, it was when he left. Didn't want him to leave. I actually, he was the Luke Skywalker of Highlander. Really, he was the whiny kid at first. I could relate to how. So yeah, I don't know. I liked him. Poor guy.
Okay. And what are your specific predictions for the new Star Wars movie coming out? Not in pertaining to Jedi, just how well it'll do, if it'll be good or not.
I've been optimistic the entire time. I really think that's going to be something. I mean, when you boil it down, what is it really? It's a high-budget fan-made film, okay? And if anybody's been to theforce.net and checked out the fan archives of films, there's some really great fan films out there, There's some really fun fan films out there. So then when you add the power of Disney and the money of that behind those films, I think you would get a great product. It has been my line of thinking. Abrams has been a Star Wars fan for, in his words, way too long, or way too many years. So so yeah, you have you're just getting a big fan film, a film made by fans for fans, and as such, I think it's going to do well. I think it's going to appease a lot of people. No one's going to, of course, no one's. You can't make everybody happy, but I think there will be a lot of things that people can like, or there'll at least be that one thing that even the hardest detractor is going to have to be like, well, then there was that in the movie, and I like that, so there's that. I think it's going to do well. I think it's going to do well financially, and I think it's going to do well critically. I think it's going to do well with the fans. I think it's going to be good, and I am really looking forward to it, and really hoping that I am not wrong.
Yeah. You hope you don't show up and you hear something along the lines, Annie, howdy, honey. You don't.
You know what? I don't even. I just don't want there to be anything weird, like anything that's broken. I mean, I think that's a problem like a lot of people have with the prequels. I mean, outside of the normal arguments you hear, there's just a lot of broken elements in there that kind of break up the movie and the journey, and you're like, wait, that doesn't fit, and then there's this hole, and then there's that plot hole there.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, we barely get to know who Darth Maul is in the first thing. I mean,
right. There's a lot of missed opportunities in the prequels, and I don't think we're gonna have that. If anything, we're gonna have an overabundance of detail and character development and things to really chew on. So, I mean, yeah, I'm just hoping that it's not broken and convoluted, and I'm just hoping for a fun journey. Yeah, and I think we'll get that. I think no matter what, we're going to get a fun 2-hour journey that's going to take us to a galaxy far, far away again. And if nothing else, if you focus on nothing else but just that, everybody's going to leave that theater happy.
Yeah. Well, actually, one of my favorite pieces of Star Wars media was the Darth Maul comics. The ones, and I can't remember the specific name. I think it was the Son of Dathomir one, but essentially it follows Darth Maul's literally his entire life leading up to his second death after he gets the robot legs.
Right.
And basically, he starts out his life as a tortured child, becomes a villain, and dies the hero of the Mandalorian people.
Yeah, it's a journey in itself.
Yeah.
I was actually really looking forward to a game that was being developed, which was basically the Darth Maul game. And it was basically...
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing posters for that, yeah.
Yeah, and it was going to take you through that journey and his Sith training and really dig into the character development and the reasoning of why a person kind of goes that direction, and it would explore like Sith philosophy and things like that. It looked really, really good. Of course, it was being developed at the wrong time, and it all got tossed out the window, kind of like 1313. But there's hope for that one, which I'm excited about. But yeah, I think it was a good character that could have been developed. But then I'm a huge Qui-Gon fan too, and that's another one. Yeah. And that's why I love like the Jedi Apprentice series by Jude Watson, because again, it's that exploration of kind of the character.
That's how I feel about Mace Windu.
Yeah, there's another one. I'm hoping. There's this kind of like very small fan theory, or maybe just not even a theory, just a wish that they bring him back in Rebels. And I've seen some concept art of it, and I'm like, yeah, that looks good. Let's do that. Let's bring him back.
Because my favorite fan fiction concept would be, what if Darth Maul was raised as a Jedi, and if someone was going to do that job, Mace Windu would do that job.
Oh yeah, definitely. And
also, I think maybe Darth Maul is adorable.
Yeah, Maul. I do love Maul. Maul and Windu would be a great one. That would be, someone needs to get on that.
I'm just imagining Samuel L. Jackson raising demon creatures like his teenage years.
Oh, it's good stuff, dude. Could you imagine Maul just like wandering around the Jedi Temple too with all the makeup and stuff? Ah, it would be beautiful. I'd be totally
Mo,
down
do
with
you
it.
know what they call a cheeseburger in France? A royale with cheese.
They need to get on this, man. This needs to be developed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always a theory I played around with, and the reason I played around with it is because it would change so much. Because Qui-Gon wouldn't die,
Mm.
so you would have Anakin, which would actually, because in the Samurai Jack animated Clone Wars series, it's revealed that the reason he turns to the dark side more or less is he looked up to Qui-Gon, or Anakin turns to the dark side more or less. He didn't have a real father figure. I mean, he had Obi-Wan, but that was more like his older brother.
Yeah.
And Qui-Gon was really like his father figure. So he turns to the dark side because he doesn't have that guidance to turn to. But once he has the guidance, he doesn't need the Emperor anymore because that was basically his surrogate spirit guide. And he just becomes Jedi Master Skywalker. And Mace Windu is still alive.
And still alive. Yeah, and the Jedi Order could, fix up some of the holes in their little little ideology then. And everybody could live happily ever after. And we get Obi-Wan being an awesome Jedi Knight for like ever.
Forever.
I would be good with a solo, like, because that means Obi-Wan gets to go off on his own and go be his Jedi Knight. And I just think that would be awesome because he's fun. Young Obi-Wan Jedi Knight is fun. I like that guy.
Oh yeah, especially in Episode 3 for me.
I love him, man. Good stuff.
Yeah, and well, that ties into to something else, is because I have seen, I think, two other interviews with you by other people. I think one was Seth Andrews, the Thinking Atheist. Have you ever been on his program?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, one of the answers I usually hear back from you is like, why do you do it? Partially because it's fun. And can you expand more on that? It's fun. That ideology, the operating the pineal gland gets the euphoria going. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. We can go not so scientific though. And just be like, it's something you get to do. You get to do good things that make you feel good, right? While doing something you love. It's about passion. It's about doing things you enjoy. So when you get to be like, okay, I need to get my physical fitness in, and you toss a lightsaber to your friend and you're like, 60 minutes, man, no holds barred. We're gonna go. That's fun. And you get to be like, I'm living the path. When you dress up in Jedi robes and you put it on, and then you go out and you read to kids, or feed, serve food at a homeless shelter, or raise money in a charity event like that California Jedi and myself have done, where you run a Spartan race. So you're basically Luke on Dagobah, except with more heavy old school Jedi robes. And you're out there and you're running and you're jumping and you're going through the obstacles. And at the same time, you know that, hey, we've raised a couple $1,000s for a really good cause and for a really good organization. Those things, they just combine. You get to use your love to go do something good and make a positive impact in the world. And that's fun. That's just good stuff. I think if you talk to people like from the 501st, when they put on the Stormtrooper armor, or the mercenary, the Mandalorian mercs, when they do their stuff and they go out and they go to children's hospitals and pay a visit, or get to do things like that. Again, it's doing something you love. It's taking a passion that really speaks to you, that you really enjoy doing on your own. And then you get to make a positive impact in someone's life with it. Fun, I don't know. It's just a word I use to encompass, because I don't have a vocabulary that's good enough to cover what I'm really trying to convey. That it's just really this, it just feels great. And
Would a good word would a good word to use in future conversations be all encompassing and fulfilling?
that it is all encompassing, fulfilling. Yes, I'll try to make a mental note of that, but I'll probably in interviews devolve to fun, just because in any interview I tend to get nervous.
Oh, don't be. I'm a small YouTube channel, 43 subscribers. We're growing, but still.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. You're out there in your face in public, and the thing with being a Jedi, as anybody who has a YouTube channel that speaks on behalf of a label, right? Something you know very well. You're not speaking just for yourself. So there's kind of a response. There's people behind me that carry the label Jedi, and I am now a representation of the entire path. That's a little scary, right? That's kind of that's big. And so yeah, I think about that, and it's fun instead of all encompassing. Yeah, so yeah. There it is. But I will work on
it. Yeah. Okay, so how much time do you have left? Would it be okay to stick around to chat live for a bit?
Sure. Yeah. More. Sure. I have no problem with
it. So, and of course, this was actually very unpolite of me. How are you today?
I'm good. It's technically my day off today, so I'm pretty good. I've been relaxing and chilling and getting little side projects done, putting in work on Jedi living stuff. So overall, it's been a pretty good day, somewhat productive day even. So I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm good. It's a Texas winter day, so it's the mid 60s, and it's not too bad here. It's also my day off. It's my day right after my final exams for my end of my second semester of college, 1302 history and psychology.
Fun stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what are your No, I can't think of a question. Okay.
Did we go through all the questions already?
We did go through all the questions. Again, okay, for me and oh yeah, that's actually question 10. I didn't answer. I mean, I didn't ask. Okay. For me and all the people. No, actually, you did answer that one. Can you be an atheist Jedi? Yes.
Yes, you can. Yes. Yeah, you can basically be an anything Jedi as far as Jedi are concerned.
Yeah.
If there's any conflict with the path, it'll stem from the other side. Jedi are pretty open and pretty flexible, and have a lot of people that I've talked to from various religions or non-religious views tend to find it compatible and encouraging of where they're looking to go in life. So absolutely.
Well, actually, something else we could talk about, one of the more controversial parts of the 5-line code. There is no death, there is the Force. What's all that about?
Well, we know where it comes from. It comes from the blue ghosties.
No, I'm sorry.
No. But we know where it comes from. It comes from the blue ghosties of Star Wars and the idea that that a Jedi can become one with the Force. In real life, there's different views on it. Some view it as a way to encourage not to be afraid of loss, of death, but to kind of accept it as a part of life and go with it from there. Is much more of a human experience and kind of how we deal with attachment in our lives and things of that nature. Some people view it as kind of a more literal thing where they think of, well, what happens to the human body when it dies, or anything really when it dies. What happens? Molecules, atoms breaking up. How does that kind of play out in the universe, and where does that go?
Atoms break apart and become new things, that kind of thing.
Right. And so technically there is no death. There is the force. You break down and you become a part of the universe and continue on in some form or another. Then of course you have your more spiritual outlooks, or perhaps it would be better to say religious outlooks that do go towards more specific religious beliefs on what happens life after death and all that. But again, as we discussed earlier, as a organizational thing, as a totality of it, there's no singular Jedi thought on that. Very individualistic.
So it's very open to interpretation.
The last line very much is open. It's kind of what we use as a stepping stone for Jedi to explore their spiritual wellness, to find answers that work for them. And that's kind of the line that first brings that up and kind of opens that door for questions to be asked and for the exploration to begin. And certainly, yeah, there's no Jedi group, or there shouldn't be. I don't know, there might be one out there, but there should be no Jedi group out there that tries to force an answer on you or tries to tell you what that line means specifically. It's an exploration, and it is a way. But I think the one thing you'll always kind of come across and always see mentioned when a group or a training program is exploring that last line is very much that human experience of attachment, of loss, of kind of to steal from the Lion King, the circle of life, right? Mm-hmm. You'll always kind of run into that, even if it's just kind of a side note, but you'll always run into that idea that, okay, how do Jedi process loss? How do Jedi deal with death? The dead, they don't deal with it. They're done. They got their get out of jail free card. It's those that are left alive that now have to process and deal with death. And that line is really speaking to those who now have to deal with the aftermath of a loss and attachment. And so, yeah, that's where you'll always kind of find a common ground with all Jedi with that line, but it's also very much the beginning of spiritual exploration.
Yeah. And Sam Harris, again, the person I bring up here, I shouldn't because you don't know who that is, and then that gets lost in between the two. But he talks a lot about spirituality and how it pertains more to a feeling. And definitely, if people are more spiritual with that line, you won't get any complaints out of me. My big thing with my religious skepticism, because if you do go to my channel, you're going to find some religious debunking videos. For instance, I wouldn't blame a Shia Muslim person for being Islamic. I would blame Islam for abusing that person. Just the religion, the book.
Right.
I think it's much in that same way. There is no reason whatsoever to really criticize someone who feels that this gives them comfort when a loved one has passed or when they see their own demise coming. There is no reason. No.
I'll just say, yeah, you do see it in the Jedi community when Jedi do deal with loved ones who have passed. They'll use that line kind of in that, as well as the Yoda quote from episode 2. Is it 2 or is it 3? Might be 3. Oh my God. Star Wars fans are going to eat me alive for that one, man. Oh, losing my Jedi cred. But where he talks to Anakin. So I'm pretty sure it's 3. Where he talks to Anakin, might be 2. Man, about fear of loss, though, basically. And that you have to learn to let go, and that kind of thing. We're not as extreme, but you do see that kind of quote come up, and the last line of the Force, the last line of the Jedi Code does come into play for for a lot of Jedi when they're going through that mourning process.
Yeah. Oh God, I had a question in my head for the next one, and my brain. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Have you ever seen the 3D Clone Wars series?
Oh wait, yeah, you mean the TV show?
Yeah, the 3D one.
Yeah. Yes, I have.
Oh,
I was thinking of the movie for a second. The Clone Wars, not episode 2, the Clone
animated
Wars movie. Yeah, which I haven't seen, by the way.
Yeah, the reason I bring that up, the series, I haven't seen the movie version either. But the series, the reason I bring that up is because the last 4 or 5 episodes of season 6 is Yoda learning from the ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn how to become a Force ghost.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
He literally travels to like all these different universes. Thanks.
Yeah, and he has to face, his demons, and
Demon Yoda was adorable.
It's great because it's such a. I think it's always important to kind of remind people that because Yoda is seen as wise and this great Jedi Master that has his stuff together, and but then we see no man, everybody's kind of got their demons and their dark side to deal with, no matter how many years they've been alive.
Yeah. And then there's the fake miracle world where Count Dooku never turned evil, and
there's so many. It offered so many ways to explore. Again, it's kind of like it's made by a fan, right? Like you get people who are exploring these concepts that fans are exploring already through alternate universes or fan fiction or and then you get to kind of see it played out with characters and voices that you've come to know and love, and yeah, it's good I liked it because it also inspired a lot of people too. The younger generation really got into it as well, and it really inspired them to take lessons to heart, and yeah, it's just. I think it's good. I always encourage people to watch it. Not that I'm really good with the whole end of it's the decline of the Jedi Order. So there's some things I don't like about it. Like I'm a Barriss Offee fan. Like I like the books MedStar, and all that. So I was not happy with her character development in that show. I'm
a James Luceno man myself.
It's good. He's good though. I love
Darth Plagueis so much. It was such a good novel.
Yeah, he really brings really cleaned up a lot of the things. Like his prequel books. Like if you read, I think he did the Revenge of the Sith novelization. Was really good, and his Darth Vader takes. I forget which one that one was, but that was a good one too. He's really good with it.
Yeah, I just love how in Darth Plagueis we're introduced to the Emperor not as the Emperor but as college student Palpatine. He enjoys fast cars and has slight rage problems.
And it speaks. I just like it because you get to explore the different human elements, right, and stages of life. Through basically this technically really evil character, man. But then you get to just see this really human side and exploration of being like, oh no, I kind of like those things too. That's cool.
Yeah. And probably the most reused soundtrack I would say comes from the original Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about the iconic song in the beginning. I'm talking about that cantina.
Cantina music. I'm looking forward to the new cantina music, by the way. That's just
yeah, are they gonna go back to Mos Eisley?
I don't know if where
hope
they're
they.
gonna have it, but I know that they've already developed, like, supposedly, like, I think there's 2 scenes that they said that are gonna have cantina, like, just, and it's gonna be just there in the background. But I'm really looking forward to what, the new cantina music is.
I hope they go to Mos Eisley and it's been renovated and now it's a daycare.
I'm all for renovation, but I don't know, man. I'm much more of the Coruscant like scene. I like the bright neon lights, so I hope they kind of
Oh
modernize
yes.
a little bit. I'm all for
That's
that.
actually like I really hated the episode 2 movie, but that really was my favorite part. Seeing them go after the bounty hunter, and it's like, you do not want to sell me death sticks. You want to go home and rethink your life.
I loved, yeah, I love that scene. I love the nightclub scene. I liked Obi-Wan Kenobi being like, "I'm going to get a drink," and all that. I think people forget that about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like,
That he's a
they're like,
drinker.
well, and it's glossed over in Star Wars: A New Hope,
Yeah.
when it's like it's a place full of scum and villainy, and Luke Skywalker should have been like, "How do you know that? Go here often, Obi-Wan? How do you know? How do you know what the clientele is there? How often do you hang out at that bar? How do you know this is a good place to go to find a person to fly us? Why do you know that? How do you know that?" I think there's some questions there, man.
When you live on a desert planet, Luke, you have to play the field where you can.
I think it would be great, man. That's why I love Obi-Wan's my favorite, man. I love that guy.
Yeah. And oh god, there's just so much to hit on. To go into like Jediism or Star Wars, the actual franchise, or uh
What's the benefit about being a Jedi is that you can switch gears from just completely being like a fan and just having fun with stuff, and then all of a sudden you can get serious and philosophical with it.
yeah. Because one of the things that I'll admit that was kind of embarrassing is when I got super into the Jediism thing that you were the stack of files that I was talking about. I did do sort of a lightsaber thing because I had this $40 katana, and I basically took a giant blue Sharpie to it, the blade of it.
You are gonna make some sword people cry.
I know I will.
Well, how did it turn out? Did it
It actually turned out really well. It looks like a purple blade now.
Excellent. So Mace Windu right there.
Yeah, yeah. I was going for blue, but and I would practice actual kendo forms because previously I had taken Okinawan Kabuto, which was only around for like 2 years, and now a Kalachi factory is where it used to be, which is depressing. Because that was so cool. They were literally teaching you all the stuff that samurai were taught. Like all the different little jujitsu moves, and then they had just a pile of weapons that you could ask your sensei, and he would actually train you in them.
There you go. See, that's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. It's a shame that it's what is it? Not there anymore? Or are you just not doing it?
Oh, the Okinawan Kabuto?
Yeah.
Yeah, only it was like me and only a very few other people. It was me and a family, a different family that was coming in and doing it, and the whole place got shut down. And now there's a Kalachi factory there.
That is sad, man. That is sad.
Yeah. But no, that's just an example. Well, it's not that sad. It was a good experience.
Oh yeah.
And I remember the basics, and which is really what you need to know to get a good workout, I guess. Because it does tone your arms and your biceps, because that sword weighs at least 5 pounds, and I'm just.
Yeah, that'll definitely do it. That'll definitely do it.
Oh God, what would you say? What would you say the place of lightsaber forms are, and what have you in Jediism and Jedi meetup groups? Again, I know this is probably very open and interpreted by the individual, but
it's it can be one of two things. As we've talked about, it can be physical fitness. You can very much use it in that line. But another way that lightsaber forms and things of that nature can be used is a moving meditation. As you say, as you were doing, going through the forms of kendo or lightsaber forms, or making up your own forms. Just kind of going through that steadily with that focus on breathing and movement, and kind of that very much can be a moving meditation. Outside of that, that's really all it is. You'll see some people claim that self-defense, but that's more hopeful thinking. That's being wishy-washy, because if self-defense was the goal, you would do something much more conventional. You would actually do something that you're not going to be carrying around a lightsaber all the time. You're not going to be carrying around a sword all the time. So using that as a means to kind of using self-defense as a justification for it doesn't really work. But certainly it falls in with physical fitness, physical well-being. It's something fun to do. It's something you can use for charity events. Again, maybe going to a children's hospital or a local library, and you can kind of teach a quick form. A lightsaber form is a nice way to get people involved and active with that. That's fun. You can, and then again, the moving meditation aspect of it can be really great. To just kind of get out in a park or your backyard, or while you're out, maybe you find a really good place while hiking, and kind of just taking a few minutes to go through a form and practice it over and over again, and kind of focus the mind, can be a really great thing. So it definitely has its place. But I mean, it can be substituted with sword work, can be substituted with unarmed. Again, it goes back to whatever that individual is comfortable with, but it certainly can have its place, and it's a fun thing. It's a great way to connect with the inspiration. Kind of everybody kind of gets involved because they like Star Wars, they like the Jedi, and that's how they kind of they want to become a Jedi. And so you get to stay connected to that inspiration, that original dream, by taking out the lightsaber or what have you, and kind of or the sharpied katana blade, and going through the forms. That will always have a meaningful impact, and can play into both physical fitness and meditation. Two birds, one stone. Maybe you're really busy, you got finals at college, you can't get in both physical fitness and a separate meditation time. So boom, smash, got them together. Time management is important for Jedi. So yeah, it definitely has a place, and it's definitely something that all groups encourage. I don't think you won't find it. There's really not a group out there that will be like, oh, put away the lightsaber. If they do, I think they're missing it. But yeah, that's something almost all Jedi groups and Jedi just individually have. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a Jedi who doesn't have some lightsaber of some kind somewhere in their house. Whether, I don't know, maybe you might find a Jedi who will be like, hold on, he goes to a closet and busts out one of the rolls of Christmas paper, right, and has that roll, because I remember doing that as a kid. Christmas wrapping papers were great to use as pretend lightsabers.
Ultra sabers, those guys.
Ultra sabers. A lot of people, because dueling clubs are definitely becoming more popular right now. Lightsaber dueling clubs. So yeah, ultra sabers, saber forge. Those type of places definitely offer Vader's Vault if you're feeling fancy and want something very specific. Because they do custom, you can design your own, basically. Gonna cost you, but yeah, there are places out there that'll definitely provide you with a good working lightsaber that's used for dueling, that has that safe blade, not like this plastic that's gonna break and shred into your eyeballs or anything.
Oh yeah, no. I spent some time nerd drooling over Ultra Saber's Mantis model. I mean, Count Dooku, Count Dooku, Count Dooku. That's all I kept thinking.
Yeah, the inspiration behind them are great because it really does allow you to go with something that you like, but then kind of customize it as well. I'm really, really into Saber Forge's. I think it's still going on Indiegogo, where you can build your own with their parts, and you go through all their different parts, and you build your own saber hilt. Again, gonna cost you, but definitely good stuff. Definitely, because when you get it, you're like, okay, this is my lightsaber. This is mine, and there's a sense of ownership to it. And again, and when you do, if you're doing moving meditation, and you have your own lightsaber, whew, it does make an impact. It really connects you. It feels good to get out there and do that.
Yeah. God, I know for a fact that one thing about the new Star Wars movie, and that's that someone somewhere, if it's not someone else, it's going to be me, is going to make a GIF of Kylo Ren jumping out from behind a wall and screaming, "Mastodon!"
Well, now that you put it out there, I'm sure someone's going to do it. So it's definitely going to happen now. It's good news.
What is your stance on? Because I know Ultra Sabers already came out with one of these models, but what is your stance on the Kylo Ren lightsaber?
I'm not a fan. I don't buy into the whole thing. Look, man, there's they're like, oh, cross guard. I'm not with the cross guard. I'm not. It doesn't work in the principle that a cross guard actually works. It just because it has the emitters that stick out to the sides, and a lightsaber blade to those emitters, and your cross guard's done. And then not to mention your hand, because a lightsaber blade's not going to stop at the emitter on the cross guard. So
yeah, plus when you study like William Wallace or someone who did use a cross guard in battle, the purpose of them is to stop the blade, then you can grind against your opponent and just bash him in the face.
Yeah, when you get into especially broadsword work, where a lot of you do see that cross guard, there's a lot of it isn't about pointing and slashing. There's a lot of grabbing of the hilt or grabbing of the blade and kind of making use of the whole sword. And you can't really do that with a lightsaber. So I am much more a fan. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I loved what Count Dooku brought, his saber brought to the idea of lightsaber dueling. It was my thing since I was a fan. Lightsaber dueling is all in the wrist.
Okay? All about that Makashi.
Yeah, it really is. It's fencing is probably your closer principle, but even that you have to adjust for the way the blade is and how it works. And yeah, it's very much a wrist action, thing. It's not a samurai sword. It's not a broadsword. And to bring those principles into it, I think opens it up. I think Makashi it's going to win every time, man. It's just going to.
Yeah.
You're done.
What it made me imagine, well, one, because it's, he's played, the actor is dead now, and now I can't remember the name. He also played Christopher Lee, yes. He also played Saruman in Lord of the Rings. And he was also Dracula for the longest time. And he does pull off the cape and the hilted lightsaber. Really, I don't know. I expected him because of how he was using the lightsaber to just cut a D in the chest of his opponents. Sauron.
Yeah, he makes such a good striking character. He was I loved Christopher Lee, man. I loved him. He did vocals with a heavy metal band. And I cannot remember off the top of my head, but love that dude. His voice is epic in that. It's just great. Like he's telling his story and the heavy guitar. Oh, it's good stuff. But yeah, he just has that gravitas, man. You're like, okay, like this dude yeah, this dude's evil. This guy's, yeah, this guy's gonna bite my neck right now. This guy's gonna kill me in some way, somehow. And yeah, without even trying, without even, and that's the thing too with Christopher Lee. It was like, yeah, not even trying. Not gonna break a sweat doing it. I am gonna kill you, but I'm gonna probably be drinking wine at the same time as doing it. You know, like you're just like,
Yeah,
someone.
what I really notice about his acting is that there are people who say that some villain characters tend to chew the scenery, which means they try to make themselves a part of the world. I think that Christopher Lee emanates some kind of energy that allows him to dissolve the scenery with his mind and just make it a part of himself.
I would have to agree with that. Definitely, because no matter what you see him in, really, dude, you just kind of, you're like, Christopher Lee, all right, I'm down with it. You know, you don't care anymore. You're like, I'm good. Yeah, this character's, and you care about that character somehow. That character has an impact. And yeah, and it really doesn't matter what world or what's going on around. You're just kind of focused, and you're like, okay, you have my attention, sir.
Yeah. Let's see what else. Oh, that would be another change, wouldn't it, to a good Darth Maul, because Count Dooku became a villain after he was shown Qui-Gon's death. So that would be, yeah, no, he too would be a good guy. So he would have the yellow lightsaber he had in the comics, but all curvy.
You know, the suave good guy, man. Like Dooku was like, I loved him as a Jedi because he liked the universe that he lived in. You know, he wasn't all about this a Jedi's partakes of food cubes and food cubes only, you know, kind of thing. Like he very much was about savoring the universe and the moment, and kind of enjoying the finer things in life. And I'm totally down with that as a Jedi. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And this is something I want to close on, because I want to close on a sort of fun note. We can go off air and then maybe do like an after chat after this. But I always thought this would make a great Star Wars fan film. And this is just me shooting things out there. A recreation of the story of the Count of Monte Cristo. But instead of the old man that he meets being a priest who failed in the war, he's an old Jedi in prison. And it's just a Force-sensitive dude. Actually, you could use that movie, and this is, of course, me playing with the universe. You could use that movie to change it to where even non-Force sensitives could learn the Force, because that I know that bothers a lot of people.
Well,
But
if you look at what Abrams said just recently, his take on the Force is a bit different, and would account for that, would allow for that.
yeah. And I don't know. I always like that concept. I've wanted to recreate the Count of Monte Cristo, but with a modern day setting. And my idea for that was just that it's an innocent dude who lives in the ghetto, probably black, thrown in jail, and he meets an old Italian gangster, and he tells him, yeah, and then he basically leaves him all of his money that he owns outside of jail, because he's in for a shorter sentence. And he goes out and he's able to get evidence on all the people who framed him.
That would be really good too. I like that one. I think that's I think the Count of Monte Cristo is just it's another one of those kind of timeless stories that and character development, right? Like the story itself and kind of the trials a person goes through. And of course, revenge stories are just always like delicious. Yeah. Especially when because it deals with morality technically, right? Like you're dealing with ethics, you're dealing with, do the ends justify the means? How far is someone willing to go? Do you get consumed by your vengeance? Do you get consumed by the idea of revenge? How far is too far? Like all these great questions come up in that story alone, and to play with that. I really like the old Jedi, like, because then you could put it in between. Like you could do that now in like Star Wars Rebels, basically. Like you could do that in that universe where Jedi are thought to be basically mythical creatures, right? Like, oh yeah, I remember my dad talking about them, but we're not allowed to talk about them anymore. They're kind of like, you know, and then yeah, for someone to meet someone towards the maybe like a couple years out from A New Hope, and yeah, that would be a good story. I like that story. That's a good one, man.
Okay, yeah. Um, one of the best Star Wars fan films I've ever seen is Path to Darkness, and it's this French fan film. And the only time they use the Force is for Force running and for increasing physical abilities.
Mm.
But they use this great metaphor of this Jedi and his master, and it's all told through visual storytelling, really. So the fact that it's in a different language didn't really bother me. And God, I sounded snobby just then. My voice went up into a tone of, "I don't even know." Anyway, um, but essentially, you see force corruption is a big part of it too, the visual imagery. You basically see that in a war zone, the master of this Jedi who was turning to the dark side was killed. And he basically has to go through the apprentice is left there and essentially trains there in a never-ending war zone between the Rebel Alliance and the Empire. And he's not on either side. He's just living in the woods. He's going slowly crazy. And it's about these two bounty hunters who meet him and basically try to bring him back to sanity. And it ends with him saving them both at the cost of his own life, which is sort of like this. And the whole time you see force corruption begin to erode the left half of his face. Black charcoal starts to grow around there.
Huh.
And then you sort of get this dying of innocence that it keeps it very real to the sense of your choices have consequences, and to a very real extent, mental weakness can have consequences. But at the same time, you can, if you try, die redeeming yourself.
Yeah, it's I haven't seen that one. First off, sounds really good.
Yeah, it also has very cool iconic imagery because he's using blue and red lightsaber at the same time.
That's always good. I always like that stuff, man. Yeah, and I think it's something that can be relatable to most people, especially Jedi, and not even as extreme. You know, like there's always people and there's always times in life where we maybe made a wrong turn or a decision or a lifestyle choice that kind of led us to do some pretty, maybe that we'd classify as dark things, you know, and things that we regret. But that doesn't have to actually dominate your destiny, you know. That doesn't have to be the end, and that there is a choice that you can choose to live a life and to use your actions and reactions from that point forward to kind of, I guess, if you want to be dramatic about it, redeem yourself. And yeah, it is really just, it comes down to choice and the consequences that holds, whether positive or negative, and being the person. And ultimately, we are who we choose to be. It's our choices that define us. So, yeah, taking the time to really to stop maybe in the direction, maybe we're not going in a direction we want to go, and to stop and kind of reflect on that and then start making the choices to get us on the path where we do want to be, and, you know, the road to redemption or what have you. But yeah, it doesn't have to end in no one's life has to end in darkness or in that, you know, consumed by that. The message of Darth Vader, you know, evil guy, but even he gets to come back. So
Yeah, and the issue with villains dying good is always plays around with me with a big debate that I sort of have with ever thinking about this theory that psychopathy or the obsession with oneself are sort of the thing that leads to many serial killers, even though technically that's a misinterpretation, and there are plenty of psychopaths who just want to, it's just the way their brain works neurologically, and they don't kill anybody. Uh, but even though that's a misinterpretation, I often think, could that be a temporary condition brought on by stress as a self-defense mechanism? And I mean, that's what the show Dexter was about. It was about a person who grew up, and his whole life, his cop adoptive father, who saw him in this stressful situation, thought so much that he was a psychopath. So he told Dexter that he was a psychopath and that he needed these special training and that he's different. And then that eventually led to him believing he was a psychopath and temporarily becoming one. In every season of Dexter, you see him become more and more human until in the 8th season, which a lot of people complain about. But he finally comes out as just human, and he feels all this guilt for his actions, and he essentially exiles himself to some far-off place. And it's sort of a self-punishment thing. He fakes his own death, and he forbids himself from seeing anyone he loves and all of that stuff. And that always speaks to this sense of, we need safeguards in place to stop good people from going crazy.
We do. I think it's just a reminder that good people do go crazy. That it can happen. Stress can do that. Emotional blinders, like there's plenty of things that are willing to push a person to momentarily forget everything that they're striving for and everything that they would prefer to be. Hopelessness can really be a very powerful blinder on where you're at in life, where you're going, and what your choices are. And people can feel trapped and kind of stuck with, this is my only option, is to do this, or things like that. But rarely is that the case. And there's it's about developing safeguards within yourself, but also having that is the point of one of the things in Jedi is social wellness is something that we very much focus on and talk about, because a good social circle, whether one good friend or 5 good friends or 200, whatever, family, whatever, like people that you can turn to, a person you can turn to, spouse, whatever it may be, that can also help kind of put those things into place. If nothing else, to pump the brakes, to be like, whoa, slow down, take a second. Just, world's not going to end right now. So just take 1 minute, stop for a second, and actually think. And to have those kind of safeguards which allow a person to stop for a second and to really consider the ramification of their actions, where, if that's kind of the direction they want to go or not, and really just taking the time to think about it. Jedi patience, big thing. And that often comes into play with that. When we say, have patience, we are referring to the fact that we want you to be mindful, that to kind of stop for a second and to really think about where your course is taking you, and to realize, to look around for a second and realize you're not trapped. There are options open to you. Sometimes they're not all great options, but nothing, you usually have to work to get where you want to be. So it's about that. And I think when you look at iconic characters like Darth Vader and things like that, you do see characters and personalities that look like that felt they were trapped in a singular course of action in order to reach what they felt was a beneficial goal, which a lot of really good villains are always looking to kind of create order. They're looking to stamp out corruption and things like that, but they do so by creating a dictatorship and a tyranny themselves, and using fear as a way to do. They start going down the same path of things that they were trying to stop. And in that, for Jedi, I know it is just about one, the philosophy is your personal, safeguards, kind of checklist of stop, think, this and that. And then of course, social well-being really plays a part into that. I think you really do see characters who become solitary, even in the prequels. If you look at Anakin Skywalker and the direction George Lucas took that, he made Anakin cut off like his support structure. He didn't talk to Obi-Wan. He wouldn't, talk to the Jedi. He wouldn't even, he stopped, really communicating with Padme and things like that. Like, he started really isolating himself until the one person he turned to is really the person he really probably should not have turned to. And so you do see that kind of trap mentality where if you just kind of trust in the safeguards that you put into place, and that is your social circle. I mean, that is a safeguard that, whether you realize it or not, that's a safeguard you've put into place. You've surrounded yourself with people who you feel will be of benefit and help you get into the direction you want to go. Those are the people that you're going to go to for advice, or when you're feeling bad, or when you're feeling happy. These are people you're going to go to, and they're going to kind of help influence the direction your life goes. So safeguards definitely important, and how that plays out is definitely an important thing.
Yeah, and that's something I notice with people who aren't sure of themselves, and of course that accounts for most people on Earth. But it's this inability to act on a rational conclusion. Like, for the longest time before the Insanity Workout Program, I genuinely did have a problem with childhood obesity. I mean, I had an ethnically Italian mother. I was like, we eat. This is what we do. But and mainly like lasagna and stuff, which is high in calories. And I also lived on a diet of Big Macs. So that was sort of my problem as a kid. But all the time, even when I was a very small child doing all that, I thought, well, I should stop this. I should work out. Bread doesn't really add anything to the flavor of food. There's no reason to have this in here. It's just empty calories. And, so I just kept more and more and more until eventually it built up to an action. But at the same time, I was patient with myself, maybe a little too patient. But the first time I could actually see my toes was holy wow, But at the same time, I think about people who say like, oh yeah, I should do this, but meh. I should do this, but meh. Like, like there's no support group for them. But is there a way? And I know that I also could get into some. Again, this is when I bring up Sam Harris again, and I really do. I recommend you check him out on iTunes. He's not paying me to say this, but I would. I wish he was paying me to say this, but no. But he touches on this too. That realization is the equivalent to, really, if you realize that you should be doing something, why not do it? And it's something that everyone, I think, brings up once in a while. But what are your views on that? What are your views on personal revelation, personal realization?
I think someone really has to look into it. If you find yourself being like, I should do this, I think that automatically, and especially if you're like, but meh, I think you should stop and say, well, why do you feel you should do that then? If you're not going to do it, right? If you're not going to follow through, why do you feel like you should? And if it's just because of outside voices, and I don't mean like rational, well, I should get into better shape because scientific studies have shown I'll live a longer life. and I want a longer life. Like, dig into it, you know. Actually dig into it. For some people, yeah, discover it, because there are people, which I have no problems with, who are like, physical fitness, I should do that, but meh. And it's like, well, why should you do it? Well, because scientific studies say I'll live a longer life. Well, do you want to live a longer life? No, I just want to enjoy whatever time I have. And if that's 10 years, that's 10 years. And if that's 50 years, then that's 50. And that's their choice. So dig into it is something that my view is. Dig into it for yourself. Like, for all people, Jedi aside, like, do what makes you happy, you know, live the life that you like to live, and, you know, and accept the consequences. Be honest with yourself, certainly. Be like, yeah, I should work out, but I don't want to. I should do meditation, but I'd rather play a video game right now. Fine, cool. Do it, man. Like, have fun. You know, don't let some outside preconceived notion of what you should be doing really filter into your head and make you feel bad about yourself. Never feel bad about yourself. Explore it. Come to your own reasons. Determine what you want to do with your life. And if that is, I don't know, whatever. If you want to be 600 pounds playing video games and do it. If that's what makes you happy, be happy. Accept the consequences. Realize you will not live as long as, like, someone else, you know. But I mean, the argument there is death can happen to anybody at any time. No one knows. No one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. No one's guaranteed anything. So yeah, I mean, do what makes you happy. Whatever that is. Be honest with yourself. Definitely be critically honest with yourself. Dig into it, explore it, do your research, get your facts, and really support your own conclusions. But at the end of the day, do whatever makes you happy. For the Jedi and for myself, wouldn't be doing this stuff if it didn't make me happy at the end of the day, you know. I mean, yeah, any community, right? Especially people who are, used to YouTube communities and stuff like that. There's toxicity, you know. There's stress. There's deadlines. There's requests and things you have to do, and there's work involved. But and there's difference of opinions, and there's going to be arguments, and there's going to be mistakes and regrets, and this and that, and but in the end, you're doing something that makes you happy. Maybe you do one thing and you're like, I'm not too happy about that. But you're the totality of it, you are happy with, and you're happy with the path and the ideas that you're expressing and the things that you're doing. When I argue with Jedi, in the community, that happens. Debates happen. And sometimes they're fun, and sometimes they're really not. Sometimes you just want to bang your head against the wall. But again, the overall is, I wouldn't be there arguing if the path itself and if, the community itself did not contribute in some part to my overall happiness. It's something I enjoy doing. It's something I enjoy being a part of. And that should apply to everyone, no matter what they're doing. That's my big hope for humanity, is that one day everybody's just really cool with what. Chop wood, carry water, go about your business, enjoy it, make it a game, have fun, do what you do because you love to do it, and accept the consequences of that. But be happy, So that's my view. That's my little, that's my personal stance on that.
Okay, that's an excellent note to fade out on, and that's why I want to go off air now.
Okay, we are going off air. I'm ending this sucker.